Hey, fucking Comcast. Fucking Comcast is what I was gonna say. Just, it's only costing me almost, it's $90 a month is what this is going to be for this internet. Pretty good, huh? Pretty cool. Let me just refresh my chat and pull some wisdom and say hello. All right, everything looks like it's still going. We're back online. We can get back to the thing. The fun thing that I was about to be like, ooh, you know what we can do now? What we can do now is take Electro Llama's new this week on Linux? Llama, you're running Linux? Cool. I'd like to have a Linux box, but it's like having a Linux box is like just deciding to get married. It's a big fucking commitment. It is a big goddamn commitment running a fucking Linux box. But here's what we can do that's fun. We can go ahead and download Electro Llama's run. Just like, I would plan to do for, if I were moderating this board, which I'm not, but this is how I would do it. So this is what I'm intending for them if they were to use it. So we would do this, stop, and what have we got here? Is this like a clip? 23, 10 days ago. Are you live now, actually? Are you competing with me? Don't compete with me, you son of a... you're streaming live right now. That's not what I wanted. I wanted this video. I wanted this video, and I don't see why I would need the time on it. Is this the time? Yeah, that's the whole thing. So it's a clip. So if I Control-C, I'm not sure if 4K Video Downloader supports Twitch. I think it does. Let's do it. This is what I'm suggesting. So paste the link into 4K Video Downloader. Yeah, skip. Just, you know what? Remind me later. I'm not interested. And it downloads that video. And you see, this is, I do a lot of this stuff and sometimes steal things about, the Arbery and but, and then I make videos and then it turns out that the news is not the news and you can't trust them and they just left it up even though I told them about it. And that's, but, so, without looking too far back, now we've got this guy and, we'll load that from downloads. So file, open. Where did I download that to though? Because downloads is, I've got two different downloads places. It's iDownloads. So I downloads boom. So we got this file in, and then presuming that this actually just starts and doesn't have like a rescrub kind of a thing. Okay. How are we doing back there, Python? Okay, so it doesn't love certain file formats, and I'm guessing that Twitch's file format it doesn't like, which means if I scrub through it and drag around, it's going to throw these errors, and printing these errors into the command console is actually the slowest part of Python, so when you're done with the program, you take out all the console shit and no longer print and all that stuff, and everything runs faster. But this being where that is, if I scrub around, we're actually going to be kind of screwed with this. Let's see if I open it again from scratch, if we can just clear out any issues that exist. That's downloads, career moon landing, and if I just hit analyze. Is the code did it not readjust for like the timing of this? Because that should basically be over. It didn't work. This didn't work because it's embedded. It's a 4x3. Son of a bitch. I didn't even look at it. I didn't even think about it. Son of a bitch. It's a 4x3, thing. which is always an issue. It's always got to be, and 4x3 too, huh? On the Linux box. Mm. So it's not going to see that there. We'd have to adjust the pixels. God damn it. Let's do it with somebody else's then. Let's find one, pay attention, find one that I can download and actually do, and then we'll see it. So, did I close you down? Yeah, close you down. I'll start you back up when we're there. Let's refi. Are you got this on YouTube? You got this on YouTube, and it looks like a full screen environment. And you just see, yeah, the loading thing seems to be in the correct place. Oh, fuck. No, there's an issue too, isn't it? Is that going to be an issue? The loading bar is part of the UI, right? If you change the UI scaling of the game, it's going to change the size of that loading image, isn't it? Isn't it, though? The loading thing's going to be slightly bigger. We can compare this one to what I've gotten there. Is that correct, or is there always a set loading size? I'll bet anything it's not a set loading size, though. Photos? Boom. So there's mine, and there's his. Yep. Yep. So because the graphics UI is going to be of different scaling, son of a bitch. Give me a drink. If I can't tell, give me a drink. Son of a bitch. So this is a solution for, me. But the fact that is scalable in a way that's very dynamic, isn't it? Like they've got a slider that you can make it small. It's not like small, medium, large. It's like 0 to 100% or something, yeah? And so there's a lot of different ticks along that course. Because you could put in a whole bunch of different loading images of different sizes and have those all as part of the test to see if you find any one of these and make a match close enough to any one of these. And that would be a potential solution for you. But with such dynamic scaling on the sizes of KSP, you'd need a shit ton of them, wouldn't you? I mean, it doesn't have to match perfectly either. It can be small, it can be near. But those two sizes, problematic. I mean, these are the same things, the same considerations and issues that I went through with with Cluster Truck as well, because things scale, they move around, they bounce, and so I had to find a place on the screen and an image that I could work with that would be stable enough to use. And set up percentages for everything. But yeah, the scaling of that UI is a pretty hard stopper on that. For me being able to give this, or to make this work. And you don't want to have to process the whole damn frame and see, is it just mostly black, especially in a game that's a fucking space game, because there will be situations where it's mostly black. Works so well for my ROM. Anybody have any suggestions out there? Has chat stopped moving? Because it is a direct one-to-one comparison. The way that it's built is I definitely don't want to solve it by creating, if the idea is, well, what about taking that into account and trying rescaling of all the things, then what I really want to do is like generate different versions of the sizes and stuff. Night Pollen, I need sleep. Good night, the Light Guy 89. Let's do this. Thank you. Let's do this. We pause that. And then if you'll drop the YouTube bullshit overlay that I don't want. Alright, I'll click on watch on YouTube then. Will you get rid of it there on YouTube? If I do here. No, not while you're paused, Pawn. Because what I want is if I make a copy of Kiz in this size, then I can figure out the scaling that's going on. And I can make a series of images between scaling points. I'd have to have Max in the other one. Alright, so fuck his video. Fuck all these videos, because what we need to do is get this directly from KSP. If I'm going to do it, then we're going to get it directly from KSP. Don't really have much in the way of suggestions, not much of a programming person. I can't judge. I've been stuck in basic and... Oh, okay. You guys are still having your conversation. Yeah. So what I could do is I'll take an image of the KSP loading at its smallest point, and then at its biggest point, and also we'll check to see if maybe it is a small, medium, large kind of setup. Maybe there's only like 5 or 6 different places for the loading scale. I don't know what makes the loading image larger and smaller. There's a lot of different sliders in terms of like controlling the size of UI here. But I can either get one of every if there are just 5 set, sizes for it, or I can get the small, the large, and then generate a number of versions that it can check for all in the one pass, which is how Cluster Truck does a lot of it, how the program deals with that. So settings, for UI scale. So we got 110%, and that's what I was using before. I'll keep that in mind. So we have 80 to 200. We've got 12 different UI scales. I could just take an image of each of them. And that's probably the solution that we'll have to go with, which sucks. Except... Ooh, and actually just going into settings and out of settings gets me that. So, if I can do this quickly, when I hit accept... Did I get it? Do I still have GIMP open? So... That's the same size, though. Maybe it doesn't apply until... Go back to settings, maybe that isn't changing that. Let's UI scale up to 120%. Apply. Oh my god, accept. That didn't change the size of the loading image there. So back to 110. Apply. Is this then just going to be 720 versus 1080? What the hell changes the size of the loading screen? It could be 720. Maybe it's not something that changes naturally. Under graphics, what do we got? We got... Let's go into the game and play around. Because in the game I'll have those options anyway. So, accept. Start a game. Resume saved. Fubi. So that's the size of it. Right there. Hold on, wait. I think I know the problem, says Electropants. You're playing on 1.10 while Refi played on 1.05. You think they changed the size of the loading? Let's go to settings here, because there's a lot of different things that you can change down here at the bottom in terms of UI scales and apps scaling and stuff. I mean, it could be apps scaling. And I believe this is actually wrong. But if we fuck with app scaling, so mine is 91, and I'm going to write that down so I remember because it's how I like it. If I were to go down to 50 and apply, then that makes all of that stuff is tiny. And then if we went to enter into one of these facilities, well, if we went to enter the VAB, no, that's still the same size. All right, so settings, it's not app scale, it's a 91. 1 pixel, the pixel gaming Kerbal. 1 more pixel. There you go, apply that. I'm going to do the UI scaling from here again and apply like that. And then close, and then in. It's still that size. Leave. So it's definitely not UI scaling, or if it is, then you what it means by you have to restart the game for UI scaling is it means you have to restart the game for specific things. For specific images, like the loads, and that could be the case. I mean, it's fucking Kerbal. I don't rule that out at all. Camera wobbles, scales, like I need something that changes the size of shit. Or volume. If we're in-game, we can change the size of elements. Huh. You think it's 1.10 versus 1.05? I think if anything, it's a 720 versus a 1080, but if that's true, then the video... Yeah, it maxes out at 720, so that's the problem. It's a 720, which means it should work. After all this runaround, 720, it should probably actually work. So get rid of all that stuff. Give me this, and let's download. Because I built this thing to accommodate for differences in resolution. So if the image that it's comparing, we've got it put in the config file. These are things that I've already, figured out. In the config file at the top, we declare that our native resolution is 1920 by 1080. If the program loads up a 1280 by 720 video, it will see that and go, okay, so I'm going to scale things around so that I can compare them. So it might just handle this. I was just immediately like, oh shit, does the UI scale change everything? But this might actually still work. So back over to 4K video downloader that I guess I closed. Get you back open again. Paste the link. YouTube links take a bit longer to parse usually. That Twitch link popping up and just coming down, that was like, oh, cool. That doesn't usually happen. You remind me later about something. And sometimes with 4K video downloader, it just stops working altogether. And usually that's a sign that you need to update it. I am convinced that YouTube is, really fights against programs like this that are able to pull videos down from it, and so they change things, or they try and detect the activity of a 4K video downloader stream and block it. And so usually if you sit here waiting for it to parse the video for a good long time and it doesn't do anything, that means that you need to update to the latest version because they will have patched something so that they can do it. Try YouTube DLG. People have recommended other, alternatives to me, and maybe I'll look into that because I am sick. I've just been using this for so long, and generally in video production of any kind, and anything that's a fucking professional kind of outside. And it's not that I'm a professional, but that if you are and you have to work with things, don't change tools unless you absolutely goddamn motherfucking have to, is what it comes down to. Do not change your tools, because it's a nuisance and a half. So let's see if this works at 720. It's upscaling it from 720 to 1080. We'll just find out. So can you show in the folder? Well, this doesn't help me any, does it? No, it doesn't. It's an iDownloads. So start you back up, Alt-V me into the video analysis version, file, open, iDownloads. Here's our new one. And I'm just going to hit the Analyze button, see what happens. And you'll see back here it said resizing values to different resolution. So it did detect the difference, and it scaled things. Oh, God. No, we're stuck in KSP. Don't want to be stuck in KSP. Where are you again? No, we're stuck in photos. No, don't want to be stuck in you. There it is, TK. So it didn't catch it. It's not making a match. It's not making a match, and, you know, I think the sizes are still wrong. I think they're different. I think at 720, the game actually loads the loading image differently. Like when we look at it, we just looked at it. We had mine on screen, and then we had this video blown up to 1080p resolution, even though it's 720. And the logo was larger. The loading thing was larger and a little bit in and left. And I think it's going to be one of those things where you're going to need a 720 version and a 1080 version of this file because the game's developers are monkeys. Because, you know, it doesn't match, it doesn't actually scale 1-to-1 in the game and put it in the same place with the same size. So, professionals find the version that works for them in their process, then fucking freeze versions. Adobe peaked at CS3, fight me, says Kenneth Wan. Yeah, so I'm still using Adobe Premiere 2015 over there. Nice Premiere 2015 that Adobe isn't legally allowed to sell because they were stealing Dolby's codecs at the time. So hard for them to be upset that I've got a copy of a product that they were selling me that they were never allowed to sell me. But okay, you know, another issue, 720p. That we had similar problems in Cluster Truck with when you scale up to, you know, 4K or 1440 or something like that. Elements in the game move around, which means, you know, 720p process is fine in Cluster Truck because everything's the same because those developers aren't morons. But when you go up to the higher resolutions where you have a different resolution ratio, 16:9, 16:10, 4:3, obviously, then it's going to be a completely different matter. And need a completely different file. So apparently 720 is going to need a different file for KSP. Can I, for the fuck of sake, can I, love of the fuck, for the sake of fuck, for the fuck of God, possibly find a run somewhere on these boards that is 1080p? Kerbal Space, it didn't even load the damn thing. You? What are you?
Hello and welcome. This is Gunjo Carl. We got a
4:3 embedded in a 1080 screen. Oh my God. Kerbal people are a strange lot. They're a strange lot, they are. If anything, I'm seeing that my application here, SplitRP, would need to be so customized to the 900 different ways that people have used KSP instead of just full screen 1080. That it may just be completely and utterly useless. What about like Moon and Back RTA? This 1 year ago, what's the most recent? 3 weeks ago by Electro Llama, but he uses an overlay on Linux and it's a 4:3, so that doesn't work. Looking for something modern. Refi, what do you got for me here? This is looking big. It's looking like a 720 to me. Settings 720. Yeah, that's the same as what we were looking at before. So that's a no. That's going to be a hard no for me. Moon and Back IGT. 4 months ago by Phobius. 1080p. Full screen. That's all I'm asking. Now speedrun.com. Am I going to lose the internet? No, okay. Speedrun.com is just taking its sweet time. Hey, this looks like 1080. Well, it looks like smaller scaling anyway. What? IGT Sandbox. Oh, so it doesn't matter? You just get to start in-game and then launch the ship that you've made and... Okay. Understood. So there's no loading screen in here, which means that this whole run doesn't even need this. This entire category wouldn't even. Okay. There's basically there's no reason for this to exist, is what I've found. Like there's the it's huge, the amount of time lost to loading screens and stuff. It absolutely is, but to do this in an automated way, everybody's doing something different. Everybody's doing something different here for like how they load out Kerbal, how it looks across different things. These career mode runs, but these are old, man. These are old career Moon and Back RTAs. And because of that, it would require configurations for like every individual thing, which means like my whole split RP, that's a direction that it would go if I focused on building out the video moderation thing, would be so that you can use the same basic tests, be able to move them around like in the application without editing config files and stuff like that. It's a lot of UI development. It's a lot of work. It's basically making a video editor. A lot of the things that are in a video editor. Hello, Realize TV. Yeah, I'm not seeing Moon and Back RTA, and this is Electro Llama, and Electro Llama uses, at least on that run, did it on live stream, and then there's this, and so it's in a corner in a 4x3. So that's not something that we can do without me reconfiguring everything. I can't find a run on the boards that I can process.
Hey there at Realize TV, thanks for coming out for this absolutely random and worthless stream.
I'm making money, so. I can't find a damn and I would have to download like Mr. Shannon's run, and then like Mr. Shannon's run, I believe, is 1080, and it's 1080, Shannon. It's 60, it's full screen. It would work on this, but it's an hour and something long thing, and it's like I was looking for a short category, something fast that has to move through some stuff just to be like, check this out, look at how much time gets saved, but I can't find a goddamn 1080 Elfin P too. What do you got? Huh? What does this look like? What is your video? It's moved in a little bit, and this just starts in the, you just start in the game in this category. Where am I? Moon and Back RTA. In Sandbox. Go to career Moon and Back RTA. I mean, the older it is, the less likely I feel it is that we'll get 1080p out of it. 518. Come on, baby. 480p, and it's 4x3. My God. And one of them's got the thing on the left, one of them's got the thing on the right, and moves the 4x3 around. Wait, no, that's what we just looked at. What I meant to say was Kunjo Carl, save me. We already looked at Kunjo Carl. He didn't save you. Somebody, Daedalus, 16 minute 49 second, 1080. It's embedded in a Twitch thing here, so it's not a full screen run. It's Daedalus. It's not Daedalus. Daedalus. The Jazz speed runs, 1080p full. No, it's gonna be in. It's embedded. It's embedded. So no, that's not. It doesn't. You'd need modification for that. Zaspera, this one, 1080p full. She's actually sitting in front of the loading bar there. In front of the loading bar. Come on. So no, that's a no. There's a single fucking run on here. Running in the most standard resolution in gameplay mode on the planet. KSP, strange players. How long did you spend making this Llama by day? I don't know. We've been here for 3.5 hours. I spent the first hour and 20 minutes just kind of talking about nothing, and then we made this file for it. So hour minus that, it's 2 hours. 2 hours making this config file and the image and working out some of the bugs, glitches, and things. Boom, got it ready, working. It works on my stuff. Let's go show work on somebody else's. There ain't a single goddamn run on the whole board. It's just full screen 1080. You know, we've got runs, you know, in Cluster Truck that aren't, you know, but 720 at full screen works because it's got the same, you know, sizes of everything. It's just it's 16:9, so it just scales down evenly. Kerbal Space Program doesn't, apparently. And they did something different and unnecessary, like they usually do, that made the UI less helpful. So yeah, it's done. It's just not helpful at all to anybody in any of these categories or any of these runs that I can find anyway. Science mode, very underrun. So it's just Electro-Lamo uses an embedded kind of a thing. I mean, it's entirely, you could sit down, you could go in here, and what you do, I'll show you exactly what you do, okay? You go like this, go like this. Pause, Jesus Christ, that is low res. Is that quality? All right, that's the quality. All right, fair enough. So you pause the thing, and then you get it. It's just like pausing it sucks here, but you get in and you do these. You could go. You start up and you go. Give me WinSpy. WinSpy. Really? Where Cortana? No. Fuck you, Cortana. I wasn't talking to you. WinSpy. Windows Spy. You want Windows Spy open. And you just like move your cursor over the, I mean, you take a screenshot, pull it into GIMP or Photoshop or just fucking MS Paint, you get this too. Move your pixel over there and it's like, okay, so the space is 971, 263 at that corner. You know, so it's top, it's 0 to 0, down to, and then you drag down here and you find out what the, you know, screen position is. And then you just change the values in the config file to be that. But this is a different size of thing, and that would be for this run that uses this and pushes everything to the left. And then there's another 4x3 run we saw that puts this on the left and pushes this over here. And then we got 720 runs. And the 720 runs that put them over here, except for this is a different size of 720 than it is in 1080. So yeah. You know, it works though. It works. My code works. Just nobody's running at 1080 full screen. Open. Let's fuck, you know what? What? YouTubed. This is the shortest run that I've got too. It's the shortest fucking run that I've got. So YouTube and then KSP Speedruns, and then it's a 46.5 minute. The video is a little bit longer than that. Put the analysis in. If I pull you down to here, and then that's the run finished, 46:58, which, yeah, I mean, I look like I'm celebrating, right? That's the run finished. It's all checked, yeah. So analyze that. So here's the deal. At the current rate of video analysis, like we watch down here as it finds the thing and marks them. So boom, it found the frame on which we start, which was apparently frame 523. And now it's doing splits, and now it's registering how much, you know, time is going between those splits and how much of it is lost and how much of it is good and stuff like that. The deal is, we've been watching this for however long we've been watching this, like 24, 25, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 40, 1, 2. So it's like, this is a 40-minute run. We would probably have the result for a 50-minute run, more or less. We would probably have the results in about 42 minutes. So if we sit here for 42 minutes, then it will take out all of the time, all of the black screens from this very long run. That will have more than a fair, you know, it'll have a few friggin' black screens. Reversions kick up the loading screen too, don't they? So when you revert, that would be time that you gotta wait for it to revert that might get logged with the loading screen. I'm not 1000% sure, but that seems about right to me. But the amount of time that it will take to actually process this video in full is significant. And this was always going to be like the issue for longer runs in KSP, is that this would work. And it would work pretty good. Like this, it actually might be more useful here than anywhere else. Because in a long run, if you are moderating and you don't want to like go through the run and chop it up yourself by hand, and figure out what the times are, then you just turn this on, load it up, turn it on, walk away. Especially if you've got it in 720p instead of 1080p, it will process a lot faster because it has less pixels to analyze for all of this. It'll process a lot quicker, and then you can just walk away, come back to it, and it'll give you the results. Then you double check that the results look right according to the readouts, and boom, you've got the IGT, and you didn't have to sit there and chop it up. So for longer runs, it might have actually made sense. It makes sense in one way, and in the other way, it takes a while, You could do it yourself faster if you're good at this stuff. I could, probably go through this whole thing in about 8 minutes and cut out all the black stuff if you're good at it. But, also, you have to do that, as opposed to just throwing it in the oven to cook and then it comes out. Definitely way more useful for cluster truck, but, its main foible and flaw here in KSP seems to be that nobody in KSP... nobody in KSP is running 1080 full screen. I couldn't even find, there isn't even a preponderance of people running in 720 full screen, and of those running in 4:3 resolutions, the 4:3 resolutions are embedded into a 16:9 ratio and then moved either to the left or the right. We saw one that was in the middle. And then we got, webcams where people are sitting blocking the loading thing. Next time somebody, asks me or I volunteer to do this, maybe check out the videos first and see if it would actually apply and function and work for the category. What does the Python script do? As Realize TV. It is going through this MP4 file frame by frame, and it is comparing each frame a certain area that we've told it to, crops it down to that, and it actually grayscales it and shrinks it for just faster processing and stuff like that. But it looks at a certain area of the screen and it compares it to an image held in memory. So what it's looking for right now is in the lower right hand corner, when you're going into the next thing, it pops up the little loading icon, So it is checking every single frame of this video to see when that loading icon kicks off. When it finds it, it makes a mark and says, okay, that is a split, and this is now dead time. So I'm going to pause my IGT timing so that I get what we want to end up with is the time without those load times in it. So it pauses one of its timers and doesn't count those frames so long as we're in the loading menu. And then when we fall out of the loading menu, it sees that it lost it, it starts the timing again, so that by the end, you get the real time end to end from the very beginning of the run to the very end of the run, although that doesn't work here because there's no end to the run. You get that, you get all of the splits broken down for you, and you get the IGT time with the load times removed. It was what we were doing here. And I made it work, but apparently it's only useful to me and Mr. Shannon. Mr. Shannon runs in 1080p full screen without anything occluding the loading bar, so Mr. Shannon's run could be... So there's two runners. Maybe Graybeard Wizard? I don't remember, but it's like with as few videos as there are on the forums that are in 720p full screen, wrapped in a template or unshrunken or unshifted to one side or the other. It's not even worth me making a file, a patterns file for 720. Getting a copy of the loading file as it looks in 720 resolution, making a copy of that, putting that in, making a minor adjustment to the file. Wouldn't take that long. Even though it wouldn't take that long, it's not worth it because there aren't even fucking runs in full screen 720. There's a couple, but most of them are not full screen, true full screen, and most of them are occluded in one way or the other. pretty much finding splice points. Yep, finding the splits. And this program works very well for us. This Python script works very well for us in the cluster truck speedrun. I was just modifying it for Kerbal Space Program speedrun as well. But in cluster truck, it does some pretty fucking amazing things to be able to know what's going on, not only in the video file, but you can run this program live for splitting. Although there's really no need to now because we've got a memory monitoring splitter that's better, easier. It's not taking up CPU to watch your screen and do processing. It's just watching memory values change. So that one's better to run live in all circumstances as far as I'm concerned. My runs are generally in full screen, but not in 1080p, so I don't know. It's just Electric Pan's KSP. Yeah. And it's like, it'd have to be full screen, not with a border around it, not with a live stream overlay kind of thing. That's on the to-do list. I'll keep this running, and we'll pop this open, and I'll go over to the to-do list. Translation and scaling, second thing on the to-do list, and they are listed in the things that really need to be done. Translation and scaling for nested video review / windowed mode. So, if you've got a run that's squeezed down, as, a lot of live streamers do, then, the idea would be, I could set that up. I've got the math already in here and the functions written, I think. If you just told it where the top XY was and the bottom XY was, then it can just do all of the math, or the top XY and then the width and the height of where it is, then it can just do the math and translate all of its values to where it needs to be. But so I just need to give you that ability to put those in and then wire it up in code to work that way. Board 154, 11 months on a 7-month streak. Thank you so much for the subscription. Welcome back to the Big Dick Club. Board 154, very, very timely name for this live stream. It was a boring thing that we were going to do. We boringly did it, and now that it's done, I'm boringly telling you why it's of no use. It just wasted 3.5 hours of my life. And you too, watching it if you've been here. Endgame is timing arbitrary KSP runs to establish rankings based on user performance instead of computer performance. Yeah, that's the goal, is to take out the load times so that having a slower computer is less of an impact on your run. But these were the to-dos if I were to continue developing on Split RP. Save last directory for video analysis. Very easy. You just, when a file is opened, you write the directory path to the settings.config, and then the next time it's opened, it uses that, and now it's saved there. You close the program, reopen it, it'll reopen the last directory, which is something that I hadn't gotten around to yet. Add cancel analysis functionality. So right now this is running, and if I wanted to cancel it, I can't. It's just analyzing. I have to close the damn program to cancel it. So, making that button switch over to a cancel button. Another simple thing that I was going to do, add splits to list during analysis. So right now we could be seeing over here the splits that it has done, as opposed to at the end of the analysis, it will run through the entire log that it made and then generate those splits over here and tell us that information. It could be doing it right now because, over here it's kind of doing it right here. We've got the information. It was just, how I wrote the function when I wrote the function. Might as well do it the other way. It's better. Timeline UI needs to zoom and pan. The only reason that's this far down the list is because it's a big goddamn job that's hard to do. Make a tkinter UI interface where the timeline zooms, and then you can pan the timeline just by dragging, and it's a big fucking deal. Trying to figure out how to make tkinter in Python give you the results you're looking for and make it feel good. Generate timeline blocks from splits list. Active selection linked to splits list. So when this is done, it will actually, on this list, it will create little blocked areas where this is a yellow section and there will be spaces between them where it was the load times and stuff like that. You'll see little blocks. The idea was to make each of those things a clickable area. When you clicked on it, it would automatically scroll this list and highlight when there's a list there of which split that's related to. You mouse over it and it highlights which one it is, if it's on screen, and then if you click on it, it will scroll to it and show it to you, that kind of thing, so that it's easy to click here and click there, and and vice versa. If I were scrolling here and clicked through there, then it would show you that one. That would be a thing. Scroll bar issues resolved for UI splits file. That is, I wrote this library, GUIable, that was an attempt to make TK-enter in Python something that's legible, usable, and configurable. So you can make all of the items in a Python window look good in a Windows, and it works. It's cross-platform compatible. But it would be, you could make your user interface look good instead of just, like you instantiated the most basic thing that the Windows UI or that whatever your GUI supports. You can make it look specific and make it look good. So this is all of my library that I wrote for that. I never got scroll bars to work perfectly right. They're a very tricky thing. If you ever tried to actually write a scroll bar to work, very fucking difficult, because you've got the ability of the information that the scroll bar is representing to change in height, and that means that the scroll bar needs to change, and the position and the size of the anchor needs to change, or might need to change. If it gets smaller, if it gets larger, those are the main crux in Python, because TK-enter, it's very hard to get it to register that a change has happened and then be able to take that measurement without introducing some kind of artificial delay in the action. It's just, it queues up things that are going to happen and then shoves it through the UI pipe and through to the Windows win management system, just kind of arbitrarily. Just whenever the fuck it wants to. And sometimes even when you call, you can force it to update right fucking now. And you tell it, update. And it does. And you still can't get the right results back for some reason, I think it updates it technically, but it hasn't been drawn to the screen yet. And so when it reads its own values, they're not actually updated yet. It's very difficult. So getting that information out of a scroll bar is a problem, and I have a bug in there. But this library, GUIable, that I was writing, is what allowed me to make the previous version of SplitRP look like this. And I, grab it anywhere and I can drag it around. It's a completely graphical interface, mousing over various items. You've got mouse overs, you've got clickables as well. So I can let's see, something that mouses over and then clicks. So when I mouse over these switches, it goes to that graphic. When I click them, it, does a different thing. So that kind of a deal. Turn the auto clicker on, boom. Back mouse over, boom. So I made my GUIable thing so that you could have all of these kinds of graphical UI interfaces where you're not just stuck with having it look like a default app, because it's kind of hard to get it to look good in Python's TK-enter. And it does that very well, but the scroll bars have a small bug in them with that updating deal. What else was on the to-do list? Populate settings config, check init classes of any hard values. So we've got the settings config, and I was just going to fill this in with all the configurable stuff. This would have been a file that would contain the last directory accessed. And I would add that and anything else that I could come up with that you'd want to save, screen position and stuff. If I've got this here and then I close it, the next time I open it, it should be there. Because if you've got a second monitor and you want it over there, you close it, you want it to open on your second monitor again. So saving that position would have been one of the things that I would put in there. And that is... Nope, that's not it. That's not everything. Integrate PyTube directly to acquire YouTube videos. So there is a library for Python that downloads YouTube videos. And you can just put that library into your program and then use, a very simple to access language. It's API, should I call it? You put that library in and use make an object and then populate it with a YouTube video. So it's entirely possible that SplitRP could be made so that you don't need to download the YouTube video separately, that you could just tell it what the YouTube video is and it would load that YouTube video and then you could immediately start processing. Oof, TK enter, right? But I was just dedicated to the idea of making it usable. And I think the GUIable thing worked very well and did make it very usable. Another flaw in it, though, looking back, is that I wrote it pretty specifically toward the idea of having like a locked down UI, a graphical UI that is it's just there. And everything's always going to be in that position. So if, you wanted a user interface that maximizes, minimizes, and you drag it around and stuff like that, and things distribute, I didn't write it with that idea, with that support at all. It was just meant to be very specific, make it look the way that you want it to look, and then it will look that way. And that's problematic for a lot of different use cases. So if I were, if I had my druthers, and by druthers I mean interest, time, willingness, and funding. If someone were paying me to do it, and I wanted to go back and work with GUIable, I would rewrite it from scratch. By which I mean basically copy paste over, look at it on one screen, retype it, and as I'm going, think about how it could be made better. But it's a very good idea, and it does make TK enter very nice and easier to interact with, and easy to customize and make things look good. The bugs that had been reported and that I was aware of, current goal lines and stuff. Ooh, where were we on this? Moderation UI, video player with a timeline and log. Player allows scrubbing. We've got that. Allows stepping frame by frame with left and right keys. Never implemented that. Supports zooming. Obviously, that's the big important thing about the timeline bar. So those two things need to happen. Mark in, mark out. Set start end of analysis. That's the sort of, yep, we're doing that with the scrubbing and the tools there. Display playback during analysis. This is actually, doing this takes more time than the processing takes. Just to convert what it's currently doing into a frame that we put up here, that is a longer process than analyzing the frame and seeing whether or not we should be doing a split. Kind of shockingly, but it is. And so that's why this is only doing this like 5 times a second or something like that. I don't even know what I've got it set up to, but I just hard limited it because it takes a ridiculous amount of time just to show you where you are. Building on the experience of those who went before. Normal coding, stealing from others. No, stealing from me. I wrote GUIable, so I would write it again. Stealing from a previous version of me. Show RTIGT waste results. Did that save export log option? Yeah, haven't integrated that. It's written here. You can copy and paste it. Mark splits and pause unpause events on timeline. That's being done. Color code segments between events and display segment details on hover. So we've done the color code of segments. That actually does happen when it outputs it, but displaying segment details on hover never did. Ability to add and edit and drag events. So because this is a moderation tool, the idea would be that for the speedrun moderator who's looking at the speedrun, if something was wrong in the analysis, which it shouldn't be, but this would be a program that is publicly out there and that other people can write patterns for and stuff, Other people can do what we did today over the course of 2 hours and make a pattern for KSP. And I would, document it and explain how it goes, which I've already kind of done in the thing here to a minimal extent. I explain what goes into a test. I explain what goes into a test pack. Other things are pretty self-explanatory, but I would document it and make it clear how it would be used, and other people in the wild would be using it and making their own things. So for a video moderator to be able to go in and say, okay, well, that shouldn't have been there. I don't know what happened, but the pattern file didn't work correctly. That split shouldn't be there. Delete that split. Or it missed a split here. Or in the instance with both Kerbal Space Program and Cluster Truck, where there is nothing visual to detect for like the end of a run, you could just come in here, scrub to the end of the run where it's like, okay, it's when they press this button. It's when the mouse clicks here. You find it on the timeline, right click, add, a marker. This is the final split, or, add a split, and then you get those results. So that was, it's a lot of UI work, but it would be very convenient for moderation, run moderation, stuff like that. So that was on my list as well. Yeah, so that was moderation UI, and then simple UI was going to be, I actually make a user interface for this when it's running as a live tool. If I were to come back to Split RP at this point in time, I would probably abandon it as a live tool and keep that on the sort of back burner. Like, try and make sure that while I'm developing in a way that it will continue to function as a live running tool if somebody wanted to use it for that. But I would completely retask this. The Split RP started as it's a tool that you run live while you're running, and it sends signals to live split. And I would completely retask and be like, no, this is a tool that you run offline when you're moderating videos on a leaderboard on speedrun.com. And I would focus on making it as convenient as possible and as feature-rich for the things that you need in moderation. Hello, Butthole Buddha also. For panning, I'd imagine AI can zoom. Huh? Who? But yeah, and then to do later, address the issue of windowed mode, the idea of, what if you're running your game, whatever game you're playing, in windowed mode as opposed to full screen? And I guess that's kind of determine/match the scale. If you have the option to drag it to a non-16:9, and some games do, that's a whole fucking issue is what that is. That's like an unresolvable issue is what that is. But if it's in a 16:9 locked scale, or if it's a 4:3 but you've written the file for it, that kind of thing, that would be resolved by translation scaling for nested video review in windowed mode, I think. But yeah, so those are like the to-dos that were on there. I've really just been sitting here talking just to see how deep we could get into this being done, because wouldn't it be cool to sit here, run it through the whole video, and then get the result back on the live stream, and then be like, boom! So that's the time, that's how it works, even though it's pretty much of no use to the Kerbal Space Program speedrunning community, because everybody records in a different resolution and ratio, and it's got it all masked, and there's people sitting in front of loading things. That said, we're definitely not going to get to the end of this process by the time that I end the live stream. For I am the Ronin Bond. And we have come to the end of the live stream. I did what I set out to do. I made a pattern for KSP. And more importantly, I can report back to the KSP community that, everything. That it's just useless. It's useless because everybody's doing a different thing, video-wise, and the tool is not developed to the level where it would be. Even if it was developed and finished, everybody's doing something different. It would be so inconvenient to have to change the settings and the thing every fucking time. This guy does it this way, this guy does it this way. I gotta do it. It would have to be, I would just have to develop this program on the UI end way more. And I have no immediate or definite plan to do that. If you'd like to see me do that, send large unmarked bills. What? No, I'm not done here. That's pulling out. And I apologize yet again on behalf of Comcast because, they broke the live stream in the middle, which means, the subs and the bits, the cheers and everything, they don't actually show up in the credits because Comcast broke the live stream by dropping my internet like they like to do for $90 a month.